So the new Survival of the Fittest has already had a few patches since the game launched, and it's only been out for 6 days. So they've definitely been on top of balancing out things and doing things that the community asks, which is always beautiful to see. I'm not going to drag this out and go over everything in these patch notes, but I want to go over some of the main stuff that they did to make the game more balanced and more enjoyable to everybody. And I'm going to give my thoughts on what still needs tweaking after the patches. So the first thing they say is this is likely our last patch of the year, which at this point there's only 2 days left in the year, so that's not that big of a deal. And then they say we'll be taking a few days to recoup before we get started on some new features and systems in Survival of the Fittest. We won't cover all the information just yet, as there are some finer details we need to work out, but here are some of the things we're addressing. Incentivizing aggressive play via rewards. I like the sound of that already. Something we're noticing is that players who are playing aggressively and picking fights early are more often than not finding themselves getting the short end of the stick by the end game, which is true. If you're getting into fights in the early game, a lot of the time you'll have to waste your points, your dino tokens, on healing your dinos, or sometimes your dinos get killed even if you won the fight and it just puts you behind. But let's continue. Winning fights sometimes feel like losing because you've already spent your tokens and lost your dinos annihilating other players, which is making yourself more vulnerable to those who choose to avoid conflict and farm until the end game. Our initial thoughts on this prior to launch, as we wanted to be careful about introducing heavy snowball mechanics where strong tribes just become stronger and stronger to the point that they're unbeatable, but we have gone too far in that direction. So we just want to even the playing field a little bit. So this is some of the things they plan on doing. Add in new weapons/items and adjusting existing item/armor balance. Diversity in strategies, better ground PvP, more counterplay, higher skill cap. I love all of this. Definitely need more ground PvP. It's like right now it's tame the best dino, you win. They plan on rebalancing the bosses. The dragon is strong, monkey less so, but there's no real excitement or strategy around how they're being used. I can agree with that. Definitely not a lot of strategy. More just left click, right click mechanics. We want to try and slot them into specific roles within the game so they exist to complement your army, not as the sole primary acting force. I like that. The goals outlined above will be our initial gameplay focused priority. Of course, there are other things we plan to work on beyond that, but this will get us started. We really appreciate everyone's feedback so far, and we hope that you're having fun playing. Now for the patch notes. So they made the Quetzal flying speed faster. They say we may want to adjust the spawn time, but for now it'll travel across the map faster, which is good. It was really slow before. Crosshair is now shown when riding or possessing creatures. They nerfed Thylas, which definitely needed to happen, but in my opinion, Thylas are still too strong. What do y'all think about the Thylas? I think they're still a little overpowered. Like they reduced the movement stamina recovery rate by 10% and the stamina recovery rate by 20. They still have really good stamina, especially at tier 3. I think this needs to be reduced even more. Capro increased health by 20. I don't really think Capros are viable. They could probably use another buff. Amargasaurus increased health by 10%, increased stamina by 10%, and increased movement speed by 10%. I haven't used these, so I can't really give my opinion on this. What's y'all's thoughts on the Amargasaurus? I don't see very many people using them either, so let me know what y'all think about these. I'm not 100% sure on those. The Carnos increased movement speed by 20, increased stamina recovery rate by 50, increased attack radius by 10. They definitely needed a buff, so that's good. Sabertooth increased attack radius by 20%. I don't think Sabertooths are viable either, so they could probably use a bigger buff. Direwolf pack leader howl change. Cooldown reduced from 180 seconds to 90 seconds. Duration reduced from 90 seconds to 45 seconds. Pack leader damage reduction increased from 25% to 50%. Damage bonus increased from 50% to 100%. The pack damage bonus increased from 50% to 75%. I haven't tried using the direwolves in a pack, but I'm definitely gonna try to play a match or two with them and see how they do. Terror Birds got some buffs. Sarco's got some buffs. The triple Earthwire got an increased damage by 255%. I'm gonna have to try those out. I didn't use them before the buff, so I'll definitely be trying them out in one of the next matches I play. And then they fixed a bug that prevented possessed creatures from being netted. And they added duo servers. I am so glad they did this. I was asking for this, and they actually added duo servers. So that's pretty good. I'm not gonna go over the game I stuff that got changed. And then this was the patch right before. So this says posted Friday, but this patch right here didn't get implemented until I think Wednesday, the 28th. But this patch right here, I'm not sure the exact day that this patch got implemented, but I'm gonna go ahead and go over a few of the things that got changed in it. So they said, we'd like to explain where we're at with our decision making. Long-term intention for the survival of the fittest is to make sure that we have a lot of variety in creatures being used in each match. We would love to try and create roles for specific dinosaurs and ensure that everyone has their place at some stage of the game, whether it's mid, start, or end. Whether they're used for battle, great rewards for tokens/loot, or existing as a map threat. Going further than that, we'd love to be able to redesign and define some of the creatures to make them more interesting to play, as well as increase the skill ceiling. With that in mind, we've opted for the following quick balance changes based on our current view of the game and where we'd like to go. Thyla's got nerfed here too, which, like I said, I still don't think they got nerfed enough, but I'm gonna read what they did to them. They say, of all the changes, this is the most extreme. Thyla's current kit is incredibly versatile. It has great mobility, can climb, has solid damage, bleed, a situational dismount, wears armor, has a solid health pool, and great stamina, especially with survival of the fittest general stamina changes. And this endless jumping sucks. Not just with the Thyla. With all this in mind, this is where we've taken the creature to find a better place in the meta, but not the be-all end-all. We may not always provide this additional context, but as this is the first big change we're making by taking away some functionality, we wanted to shed some insight, and as always, this may not be the last time we visit this creature. And it wasn't the last time, but like I said, I still think they need to visit it again. Can no longer use mounted weaponry. So they completely took away the ability to use weapons while mounted on the Thyla, which I think was a good idea because it was kind of busted. You would just jump away from everything in the match. Like say a Theory was chasing you, you would just run away from it, jump away from it, whatever, turn around and just combo it or shoot it with flame arrows, rockets, whatever. So I'm glad they did that. And then they reduced a bunch of other stuff, but buffed its damage. But yeah, so they reduced the stamina by 45 here, and then reduced stamina recovery rate and movement stamina recovery rate. But I think the stamina is still kind of OP. Anyway, they buffed the Sabertooth, buffed the Direwolf, they nerfed the Carcos, they nerfed the Theries, buffed the Rex's stamina by 40%. They disabled the taming for the Hesperornis. I don't know how to pronounce that, but there was a glitch to where you can literally just hover above the map and it's broken. So that's why they disabled the taming on that. They buffed the Trike, buffed the Stego, buffed the Kentro. The Yudi got nerfed. The Megatherium Energized buff got nerfed. The Daeodon can't heal bosses anymore, so that's good. They fixed a bug that was passive healing the bosses. You can no longer use net guns and flamethrowers while riding creatures. So that's really good too. I'm not gonna lie, I was doing both of these things. I mean, you gotta take advantage of it, even if it's broken, but I'm glad they fixed it. They increased the cost to heal your creatures by 33% on the tokens. I like that. And then they increased shield value by 30% at all tiers for armor. For the tier systems, they fixed a bunch of bugs with the tiers. They reduced the gap between tier 1 and tier 3 creatures to make tier 3 creatures less overpowered than tier 1. Basically, that's what this is all describing. They're trying to make it to where you can have dino armies that are just as good as having a single tier 3 creature. You can have a bunch of tier 1 creatures in a dino army that'll be able to fight against tier 3 creatures. Because like how it was is you could have 4 tier 1 creatures and go against 1 tier 3 creature and you would just get slaughtered. They're trying to fix that. What do y'all think about the changes? I'm just glad that they're dropping patches this fast and this consistent. It seemed like these kind of balance changes and nerfs never happened on regular Ark, so I'm glad to see it happening on Survival of the Fittest. Hopefully they keep it up. Let me know y'all's thoughts on everything. I just did a video on some of the major problems that Survival of the Fittest has, so if you want to check that one out, click the video on the screen. But with that being said, thank y'all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.